to come into the league in that situation as a guy that was like, yeah, if I get my opportunity, I know I'm going to be a second or third round pick, but I know if I get my opportunity, I'm gonna be able to shine. And to go from that mentality to be like, oh, they took somebody in my same draft class, 2 overall, like then go later in his career where he's an established starter, and he gets put in a driver's seat of a Lamborghini offense, and the front office is like, you're our guy. We paid you $1 billion, but we're still taking a guy at 8 overall instead of making this team just a little bit better somewhere else that might be able to put us over the edge. That would be the perfect Kirk Cousins story to make a huge playoff run, win 13 games, make a Super Bowl, and lose in heartbreaking fashion to the Chiefs.
That's how we've won all year, team, right? Yes, hey, you held them to 20 points, man. Yes, you gave us a chance at the end. I got 3 words for you. You like that?
Dirty Birds.
Where you want to start with this one?
I think this O-line's fantastic.
That's one of the best in football, I think.
Yes, I think it's very, very closely behind Detroit. Definitely would say it's top 5 easily, probably even top 3. Jake Matthews has been a solid tackle for going on a decade plus now.
Yeah, I mean he is really good.
Yeah, and then they have a Vrabel on the offensive
line.
He's
not the best pass blocker, but his run blocking it makes up for it.
And I mean,
that's kind of the story of this O line, though.
When you're a top 5 draft pick 14 years ago, wasn't he? He was high, wasn't he? He went before Taylor Lewan, and Taylor Lewan was
6th
7,
overall.
I think.
6th overall.
Yeah, so I know he was up there, and I mean to still be on the team that drafted you 6th overall, you're solid to good. I mean he's great, but I love this interior offensive line they have. And if you want to talk some more about the tackles,
yeah, I mean, so to me, I look at this O line, they're not as good in pass pro as they are in run block. I think they're going to have to lean more play action heavy than Kirk Cousins has the past few years because of like Matthews is strong, but Caleb McGarry, and I think I said earlier that Matthews isn't as good in pass pro as he is in run blocking. I got that mixed up in my head. I was thinking Caleb McGarry, but Jake Matthews is solid in both, but better pass blocker. Caleb McGarry, I do not trust him in true pass sets as a pass blocker, but as a run blocker, this dude's an animal. Like truly, I think Caleb McGarry's an offensive guard playing right tackle, but he does it well enough within the systems that they've run, avoiding more true pass sets. So I'm interested to see how he does in an offense that's going to put him on an island more often. They're going to have to give him more tight end help over on that side. But as a run blocker, this dude's an animal, and he's going to clear ways. And then looking at the interior here that Jay was mentioning, I mean, Matt Bergeron was a guy who I loved in last year's draft. I still love him. He had a bit rougher of a rookie year. I mean, he rough by veteran standards, I guess. By rookie standards, I thought he played pretty well at guard. I think he's just going to get better and better as he gets older in the league here. Played really well in his own blocking scheme. I do not see any reason why he's not going to get better in year 2. Just the mass they have, man. Like, Bergeron is a big guard. Lindstrom is a big guard. Chris Lindstrom is probably a top 5 offensive guard in the NFL right now. They're going to clear ways. The run game is going to be there. And if Kirk Cousins is what he was coming off the torn Achilles, I do not think the O-line is going to be an issue for them because he's going to get the ball out quickly. He's probably going to take a few more hits than he was in Minnesota just because I don't think they're as strong in the pass pro. But the run games would be so much stronger that it's going to open up stuff in the pass game for him to hit quickly. And then Drew Dahlman, I was pretty impressed by his run blocking, I'm going to be honest. I thought he played kind of like a madman out there. But another guy, his pass pro is not going to be quite that great. But run blocking is awesome. Like, you can tell this was an Arthur Smith offensive line.
Yes. And I'll be interested to see what they are now. But I love this offensive line.
Yeah. They're animals. They're They're going to beat you up. They're going to beat you down. I think late in the season last year, they got into a bad way. Like you kind of tell. Like I think the team was maybe not. I don't want to say that they were quitting on the team, but like you could tell there was chemistry issues in that locker room with Arthur Smith down the stretch last year. And like I do not think that they played up to their talent level in the last like quarter of the season. Whereas you flip on games from the first like half of the season, these guys are just road grading people.
Yeah.
And they knew teams knew they were going to run on them, and they were still doing it.
Yeah. So an older Kirk Cousins, who's later in his career, this is probably the best offensive line he's ever played behind, with the best running back, I would say. I mean, would you say Bijan's better than prime Dalvin Cook? About the same at worst?
Yeah, I'd say he's like right on par with prime Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I honestly, I don't know. Don't ask a Bears fan what they think of Dalvin Cook, because the Bears defense was really good in his prime.
I was never high on Dalvin.
He was. I was never
high on Dalvin Cook. I thought he feasted on. When he was good, he was really good, but I felt like he didn't show up more often than not. But that's neither here nor there.
I mean, I think Bijan's better than him, if I'm being honest. I just don't know how skewed my lens might be.
So if you look at this offense from top to bottom, I mean, there's obviously not a Justin Jefferson on this team and stuff like that, but this is the best assortment of talent from 1 to 11 on the offensive side of the ball that Kirk Cousins has ever played with.
Yeah, probably. Like just clearly across the line and the weapons.
The offensive line, weapons across the board.
It's up, like back, they don't have any player that touches Justin Jefferson overall. So like it's a tough thing to say.
Yes.
Like as far as the total unit, I think it's all more cohesive all around. And truly, I know you're not a Drake London guy, but man, I flip on this guy's tape. This dude's a monster, man.
I think he's a true one.
What he was doing with some of Desmond Ritter's passes was just ridiculous. And same with Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was making some insane plays to make for 5-yard gains. Like, you know, it was just like that ball should not be that far off. And I don't know how he's getting to it, but he is.
Yeah. What's crazy to me, when you look at this wide receiver room, with Drake London, I guess it doesn't make as much sense, but it's like what New York did going out and getting Mike Williams from LA. Like, I just feel like Mike Williams would have fit perfectly here. Like, are Darnell Mooney and Rondell Moore like the same guy?
No, not even close.
You don't think so?
Not at all similar.
They look
Rondell Moore's a gadget.
In my mind,
Rondell Moore's a gadget player who you're gonna get jet sweep touches. You're gonna use him in the backfield at times. You're gonna have plays that are specifically designed to get him the football.
Why are they the same? Why are they the same player in my mind?
I don't know. I have no. Darnell Mooney's a route winner. Like, he's gonna win with his route running. It's a completely different football player. Like, they're both fast.
They're the same person.
Rondell Moore is going to run the football like a running back when he has the ball in his hands. Darnell Mooney is a smooth downfield strider.
Maybe I'm not thinking of the right
verdict. Who's trying to win vertically and intermediate with his route running.
Who was? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm confusing these people. Was there the third wide receiver in Arizona after Christian Kirk and Rondell Moore that I'm confusing here?
I mean, Hollywood was there for a minute.
No,
AJ Green was there.
No, there just another guy like that looked like Darnell Mooney out there. Maybe I can't
think of it.
Maybe I just projecting then. But I'm very excited for Darnell Mooney in this offense. I think he's going to do fine. I think Kirk Cousins going to give him opportunities that he hasn't had in his career to this point, and playing behind him.
Darnell Mooney went to Atlanta because Kirk Cousins said, go get Darnell Mooney. Like, he knows that he can work. I really think Kirk Cousins is the type of quarterback that can maximize Darnell Mooney's skill set and the way that he plays the game. And those two are going to get along great in this offense.
Yeah, and then we talked about the running back room a little bit. Tyler Algier just quietly behind Bijan Robinson might be the best 1-2 punch in the NFL at running back.
Mm-hmm. It's up there. They have no real third, though, but I mean, that's just splitting hairs at that point.
Yeah. Assuming they both stay healthy, and if one goes down, both can do it.
Yeah, they both can be your horse, so it's fine.
You just need relief from a body at that point.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Pitts, I know he's supremely talented. Is he a legit tight end, or is he just a big-bodied wide receiver that runs routes from inside the hashes?
He's Evan Ingram.
Better than Evan Ingram?
I think he's more talented than Evan Ingram, and I think with Kirk Cousins, he'll probably be better than Evan Ingram. But
is this the year to draft Kyle Pitts in fantasy finally?
Oh, I told myself I'd say no. No, going into the tape, I told myself I am not buying into Kyle Pitts again. But then I turned on the tape and I just saw this dude making some insane plays. And it was like, how can I not buy into Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, it's crazy.
His quarterback situation has been such crap that I really think it's shrouded a lot, him and London, a lot of what they're doing, but because their production isn't quite there. I mean, even he put up almost 700 yards last year. The production was solid, but
3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's ever going to be a giant touchdown guy, but the yards are always going to be big. Or they should be big. He's got his share is probably going to shrink in this offense with Darnell Mooney coming in as the 2, because he's been the 2 here. But yeah, I don't know how much you can ask him to get in line and be a blocker. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's tough. A lot of skill here, and then you look at Kirk Cousins. I think this is going to be a very, very, very good offense.
Yeah, I think that as long as Cousins is still the guy he was last year, and I don't think it's an Achilles, so it's always tough to tell, but
he's not the most mobile anyway.
There's nothing about Kirk Cousins' game that should say that an Achilles is going to really hurt him that much.
Outside of being able to just plant and throw, but if you can't plant and throw, I mean, we've got much bigger issues.
Yeah, I really like a lot of this offense. I think Rondale Moore and Darnell Mooney are going to be really interesting here when you have 2 just skyscrapers who can win vertically in Kyle Pitts and Drake London, and Mooney's ability to work the intermediate and Moore's ability to work the short.
And then Bijan being able to catch the ball out of the backfield.
Yeah. I think if you're an offensive coordinator, you're looking at this offense, you're drooling at what you have to work with. And granted, it's not Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but it's still really good.
But I mean, the sum of the total is better than the sum of the total.
Yeah, I agree.
In Florida,
I agree.
And I mean, we can move on to the defense, but I mean, I feel like this team is like a Dallas Turner away from really making a difference here.
They're an edge rusher away. I don't love their interior. They just addressed a ton of it. They drafted Ruka Rororo in the 2nd round, Brandon Dorlus in the 4th round, and then Zion Logue in the 6th round. I mean, I liked Rororo. I thought they reached for him, but I think that he's a twitched up guy who has a chance to really get better in the NFL. His age might not imply that, but I think he plays with a good violence and has just such nice athleticism and burst that you can work with that. Brandon Dorlus is a tweener. I'm not sure you can play him against the run, but I think he's gonna be able to get some pressure as a pass rusher. I think David Onyemata is one of the most overlooked defensive tackles in the NFL, but he's up there in age.
Yeah.
Grady Jarrett, again, up there in age. He's still good. He missed a lot of games last year, tore his ACL something like week 5, I want to say. So, I mean,
if we're in the trust tree here, being honest, I didn't even know Grady Jarrett was still in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he missed most of last year. He was good when he was out there, but he's I'm not sure he's the same guy he was, which you can kind of see in his PFF grade here. I mean, it was limited sample size, but at 70.3, he was a guy who was in the high 80s for a long time.
Yeah.
But if you're able to spell him more with a row and doorless, because both those guys are going to fit that more 3-tech kind of role, or like that gap shooter kind of role, and you still feel good about Onyemata, who the tape, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't still feel good about him, but the age is really the reason. I want to say he's like 30 or 31. And then Taquan Graham is a solid rotational guy, but like I feel like you're relying on a lot with 2 older defensive tackles and 2 rookie defensive tackles, and not a lot in between. And that just feels risky to me on the interior, especially when your edge rusher room looks like Lorenzo Carter, Arnold Ebiketie, Zach Harrison, and Braylon Trice. Like, Carter is fine. He's a fine rotational player. Ebiketie, there's still stuff to prove. He showed some flashes last year that you really liked. Zach Harrison, I thought started to really come on down the stretch for them, but he's more of a tweener edge, like 5-tech kind of defensive player. I loved him in the draft. Like, loved him because I always fall in love with long, big edge rushers who move, who aren't bendy, but are just strong as hell. And that's what he is. Like, so he's not dynamic, but he has a floor that he really sets on the defense when he's out there, which there's a place for, but you just don't have difference makers on this defensive line unless Onyemata keeps being really good into his 30s and Grady Jarrett comes back in his 30s off a torn ACL and is still that guy. This is where I have questions on this roster.
Yes, which as a Falcons fan, it's got to drive you crazy that they went out and took a 26-year-old rookie in the first round with
Byron Murphy staring you in the face.
Byron Murphy, Dallas Turner, the kid that
Jared Verse,
the kid that ended up going the first defense player off the board out of UCLA.
Latu.
Yes,
Latu would be a great fit here.
You had your pick of the litter for first defensive player off the board, whatever that may be, on a team where your biggest weakness is the defense. You signed a quarterback that you hope can give you 2 to 3 years, and it just seems like they just threw that all away for a guy that, best case scenario, is making his first start at 29 years old.
I will say this for the defensive line, not in defense of Penix, but in defense of the defensive line here. Watching the Rams last year, Raheem Morris did a lot of really interesting stuff to scheme up pressure when Aaron Donald wasn't on the field, and got a lot out of a little bit of there. So, I think Raheem Morris can work with this. It's just a question like, why wouldn't you take a difference maker at that draft pick when you could? So
if that's your reasoning for it, it's like, if we're gonna get the most out of what we have, so we can afford to take a shot, then why are you taking a shot on a guy that your team is good enough to win now in a pretty weak NFC in totality?
So Terry Fontenot, GM in Atlanta, spent some time in Chicago under Ryan Pace. His right-hand man in Atlanta is Ryan Pace. Ryan Pace drafted Mitchell Trubisky to sit and learn. That didn't work out. Then Ryan Pace drafted Justin Fields to sit and learn, and that didn't work out. And Ryan Pace has just been itching to get an opportunity to let a quarterback sit and learn behind an established starter, but he's never had the established starter. And he said, well, we got the established starter. And he convinced Terry Fontenot to go get a quarterback who he could sit behind that starter, because he's just been burned so many times by it. And he's like, this is the golden opportunity. You can't pass on this.
Oh, everything you just said was true. And if you took J.J. McCarthy, I would think differently.
Yeah.
They took a guy who was in college for 7 years, who was terrible at Arkansas, and had a couple put together a couple good seasons at Washington.
Well, Indiana, not Arkansas.
Indiana, yeah. He's not KJ Jefferson. I'm an idiot. Indiana, yeah, I'll get roasted for that in the YouTube comments. Thank you. Yeah, and I like Michael Penix. I didn't even think he should be a first-round pick. It's just crazy. I felt like a team that was going to take Michael Penix was maybe a team that was supremely talented that had question marks at their quarterback position, maybe in the 20s or 30s in the draft. Like, I thought the Eagles would have been a perfect fit for Penix because I don't think they have a whole lot of faith in Jalen Hurts as much as they act like they have a lot of faith in Jalen Hurts. I thought that would have been a good fit. I thought maybe the Saints with question marks with Derek Carr. Teams like that. I mean, you don't go out and pay the money you paid to Kirk Cousins to sit a top 10 pick for the best case scenario. His first year starting, he's going to be coming up on a 5th-year option.
Yeah, I mean, it was something.
Yes, but I guess that's enough talk about
Michael
the
Penix.
offense. Yeah, Michael Penix, and we talked about the defensive line. We can get the linebackers here.
So Caden Ellis is a dude. Man, Caden Ellis is everywhere, making tackles, flying downhill into run lanes, like getting into passing lanes. I really like what I saw from Caden Ellis. But behind that, I mean, I didn't notice Nate Landman that much. I know he's a strong run defender. I know I've heard about that. I know I've seen some of it, but like I don't see like outside of Caden Ellis, I feel like you just have some guys here. Like Landman fills a role, but he's not anything to really talk a whole lot about it. Linebacker and Troy Anderson hasn't really worked out for them there. I mean, who knows? Maybe what would it be? His 3rd year jump, but like I wouldn't expect it. They drafted JD Bertrand out of Notre Dame in the 5th round. I do like Bertrand as like a solid potential linebacker. I think he's a guy who might be able to start in this league, but I'm not sure how much more. He's similar to Landman in my mind, but a bit different skill set, but similar as far as being like he can be a solid player. I don't know if he's going to be a lot more than that though.
Yeah.
And then in the corner room, this is I just have some questions all over this defense. Like AJ Terrell is still a good corner. Behind him, I mean, D. Alford, there's some nice stuff on tape, but I'm not sure that I trust him.
Was he a first-round pick?
I don't think so. I don't remember where D. Alford came from.
I remember the name.
Yeah. And then Clark Phillips, I guess, is probably in the nickel. But, I mean, maybe that's Mike Hughes. Like, I think on their depth chart, I think on their depth chart, they have Clark Phillips starting outside. Yeah, they have Clark Phillips starting outside as the cornerback, too, which is interesting because I thought he was a nickel-only guy coming out. And, I mean, maybe he played outside more last year, but I didn't think his skill set was that suited to outside. And, again, I didn't see a lot on tape. He only played 36% of the snaps his rookie year last year, so, like, maybe I just missed it, but I didn't see a lot on tape that stuck out to me about him either. And they got Mike Hughes slated to play in the slot, I believe, or was it Alford? Let's see. Yeah, Mike Hughes on the depth chart slated to play in the slot. I did like some of what I saw from Alford, but he only played 50% of the snaps last year. The strength of his defense is clearly in the safety room. Like, Jessie Bates is awesome.
Yeah, so JC was talking about Antoine Whitfield being the best safety in the league, kind of bar none. I think Jessie Bates might take that.
I'd take Winfield over Bates.
Would you? I love Jessie Bates.
I love Jessie Bates too. I think they're both in the conversation, but I just think I think Winfield is a true difference maker on any defense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, even if that's the case, I think it's a lot closer than bar none.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but yeah, Jessie Bates is phenomenal. He on that Super Bowl run with the Bengals, he was so huge.
He was huge for this Falcons defense last year. He's making plays left and right.
Yeah, unfortunately, had a potato at quarterback, though.
Yeah, dude, it is truly upsetting.
How did they not get
thinking
anybody
about this team last year? Like, this team should have been good, but Desmond Ridder was at quarterback.
It is crazy that they just
wrote it. They were just like, yeah, this is what we're doing, guys.
They never, like, Josh Dobbs was on, 5 teams last year? How did Josh Dobbs never play for the Falcons last year?
Why didn't they just draft, like, Aiden O'Connell? Like, anybody.
Or throw a... I mean, I know it's in the division, but the Saints for Jameis Winston probably would have taken a 5th-round pick.
Yeah, just anything else could have been better than what they did. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
It's mind-blowing.
There's guys out there.
Because they had Calais Campbell still last year. They had some other guys on this team. They had Bud Dupree on the edge.
Bud Dupree,
it wasn't great, but he made some plays for them. And it's like, now, I mean, maybe Abikadi will be better than Dupree was last year, but I don't know. Jeff Okudah was awful for them.
Top 3 pick.
He was awful. Oh God. I mean,
he'll always be a top 3. He'll always be a top 3 pick.
When I first turned on the tape, I thought AJ Terrell wore number 1. And I was just like, oh my God, AJ Terrell sucks. And then I looked it up. I was like, oh no, that's Jeff Okudah. Okay, that makes more sense.
Lions legend.
Yeah. What do you like on this team for value?
9.5 wins is steep. Like I said, we love Kirk Cousins. We don't know exactly what we're gonna see out of him, but if we just see average Kirk Cousins, that's what, 4,500 yards, 28, 29 touchdowns, less than 10 interceptions. He's gonna take care of the ball. He's gonna win you a lot of games.
He's gonna be top 10 in pass yards.
So he's gonna be great if he's just average
top
Kirk
10
Cousins.
In touchdown percentage.
If he's great Kirk Cousins, then we're talking. We're talking. This team might compete for the NFC title, and what better way for Kirk Cousins to finally have that breakout playoff success than right after the team he just signed with, going out and drafting a quarterback 8 overall. Would anything complete the Kirk Cousins story better than that?
As a guy, playoffs by a tiebreaker after taking quarterback 8 overall.
Or no, he would have his best season ever. He would have his most playoff success, maybe an NFC championship game, maybe a Super Bowl appearance. Because, I mean, that's kind of how he came in. Bookends for the career. A team drafts a quarterback number 2 overall, takes him in the 2nd round. He ends up having way more success than the guy they took 2nd overall, who was Rookie of the Year over Andrew Luck.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now.
Rookie of the Year over Andrew Luck. Don't get it twisted. RG3 was different, and that situation was what it was. But to come into the league in that situation as a guy that was like, yeah, if I get my opportunity, I know I'm going to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick, but I know if I get my opportunity, I'm gonna be able to shine. And to go from that mentality to be like, oh, they took somebody in my same draft class, 2 overall, and then to still have that success, then go later in his career where he's an established starter. He's a top 8 to 15 quarterback, depending on how you measure things. And he gets put in a driver's seat of a Lamborghini offense. And the front office is like, you're our guy. We paid you $1 billion, but we're still taking a guy at 8 overall instead of making this team just a little bit better somewhere else that might be able to put us over the edge. That would be the perfect Kirk Cousins story to make a huge playoff run, win 13 games, make a Super Bowl, and lose in heartbreaking fashion to the Chiefs.
You're right. That would be that would be perfect. But for value, I'm not taking NFC champs. And excuse the graphic saying AFC champs.
NFC. Yeah. Roast us in the YouTube comments, please. Love that. No, look at here. I mean, 11-1 for NFC champs is ludicrous odds. So 11-1, and you're still talking about the 49ers. You're still talking about the Cowboys. You're still talking about the Eagles. You're still talking about the Lions. The Packers were really good last year. The Bears are ascending. I feel like 11-1 is outrageous numbers when you can name 5 teams pretty easily in the same conference that I would say most people would agree that are better. And then you can name probably 3 or 4 other teams that are on the same level. I feel like 11-1 is.
Yeah, I just don't think this defense is
there.
I don't think this defense is there to be NFC champs.
I feel like the numbers are pretty right here, so it's
for
hard
value.
To find value.
I'm taking missed playoffs. Plus 156. That's it. Like, not that I think they're gonna miss the playoffs, but the value bet to me is them to miss the playoffs.
If you forced me to take a bet here, that would probably be it. Under wins, you're not making the playoffs if you go under 9.5. I don't think.
No, neither. I mean, I think with tiebreakers, I'm willing to play that game. You know.
Yeah. So you get a little bit more. You get a little bit better odds. Just completely miss the playoffs than you do the under. So
yeah.
And -120 to win the division after everything we talked about the Buccaneers just now is outrageous too. I do think the Falcons are the better team. The one thing the Falcons do have for them, though, is if Kirk Cousins goes down, you drafted a quarterback 8 overall, and you got to hope that he can step in and do it. To where if the Buccaneers lose Baker Mayfield, like our JC was saying, I mean, he would expect success at a 500 win rate. You got to hope your 8 overall quarterback can win more than half of his games if Kirk Cousins goes down.
Yeah. He should. I mean,
8 overall.
With this offensive roster, you'd hope he could at least keep it afloat.
Yeah. So looking at the schedule breakdown real quick, some big games we have here. We got the Eagles week 2, big game. We
third
both
year
like,
in a row where Kirk Cousins playing in Philadelphia in week 2.
Yeah, we both like the Eagles there. Then we see the defending reigning 2-time Super Bowl champions Chiefs winning on Sunday Night Football. Back-to-back primetime games for Kirk Cousins coming off injury is brutal.
Yeah.
And then we like the Falcons versus the Saints after that. But then we have the Buccaneers. I have the Buccaneers winning week 5. You have the Falcons.
Yeah, initially I had the Buccaneers winning week 5, and then the Falcons win it in Atlanta, and then the Falcons winning in Tampa. And I don't remember why, so I just flipped them back because that doesn't add up to me.
Mm-hmm. And then some more big games. Cowboys, Falcons. Kirk Cousins is not good historically against the Cowboys. We both like the Cowboys in that game.
And he's going to be going up against his former head coach, Mike Zimmer.
Yes. And then a big under-the-radar game, in my opinion, I feel like Dallas Turner is going to wreak havoc in that Vikings game.
I had the Vikings here, but with everything that has happened with the Vikings in recent weeks, I think that team's just going to be a dumpster fire. And like I'm going Falcons here.
I know I didn't talk about it when we talked about Vikings. I might be starting to like JJ McCarthy a lot.
Maybe. I mean, my hesitation isn't about JJ McCarthy. It's about Mekhi Blackman just going down for the year. It's about the Jordan Addison arrest and the like. There's a lot of stuff happening.
Jordan Addison just gets wild with it. It's okay.
Yeah, he definitely gets wild with it.
So Falcons Commanders, Dan Quinn. We don't think Dan Quinn wins here. I don't think so.
I don't know how that secondary stops Atlanta. I just don't.
Yeah. And rookie quarterback late in the season. It is in Washington, but they probably have the worst field in football. And when you put the worst field in football that late in the season, that might hurt the Falcons more than the Commanders, honestly, now that I think about it. But it's tough for those DBs to keep their feet
Yeah.
On that shitty of a field late in the season. God, how are they still playing games there?
I don't know. All right,
it makes no sense.
But
But yeah, so
11-6. I went too aggressive on that. I need to flip one of these.
you had them at 12
No,
when we first did this.
no, I had them at 9-8 10 minutes ago.
Oh, you gave the Falcons a game.
All right, I'll give the Vikings one back. I like them at 10-6 or
Yeah.
10-7. So yeah,
I think it's gonna be them and the Bucks at the end of the season. I think one of them wins 9 to 10 games, and the other one wins 7 to 8. I think that's right about where it is. I have them both at 9 and 8. I think one of them wins about 2 to 3 games more than the other one, and I think this division's only getting one team.
yeah, I agree.
This Falcons team is like looking at an ex-girlfriend. Like, I know it didn't work. I know it's super toxic, but maybe we try again.